Do you have issues with deer in your garden like we do up here at the Northern Michigan Garden? Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and today we have a truckload of perennials that Rod's going to be planting up here in the garden. We were up here a couple weekends ago and there was a lot of open spaces, so that means opportunities for more plants. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the plants that we'll be planting here in this garden. So we kind of walked through the garden center today and looked for plants that had the little deer resistant emblem on them and kind of went from there. So some of the things we chose, we have a campanula here. This is called Rapido Blue. This one will get about 5 to 7 inches tall and wide, so just a nice short compact mound of color. This is hardy in zones 3 to 8. So I'm going to try to mention that information too, because I know a lot of times people are like, is it good for my area or not? So I'm going to try to just give you the height, and these are going to be planted in a part sun location, so some of them we might be kind of stretching it a little bit because we've got some full sun plants, but I'll try to give you the hardiness zone and also the size of the plants. So we've got a few of those beauties. We also have Ligularia. This is Ligularia Britt Marie Crawford. It gets 36 to 48 inches tall, so this is going to be something we're going to put at the back of the garden, and this will get little yellow flowers on it probably about midsummer or so. Britt Marie Crawford Ligularia is hardy in zones 4 to 9 and likes to be planted in part shade to shade areas. So this one should really love that part shade spot we're going to give it. Next, we have a few of the Corabelles or Heuchera. This one here is the Primo Peach Berry Ice. This one will get about 8 to 10 inches tall, the foliage will, and then it gets some little white flowers on it. This likes to be planted in part shade to, well, sun to shade areas. We're going to put it in part shade, and this is hardy in zones 4 to 9. So beautiful foliage is what we're kind of going for. We have some of these at our home garden, and I really love how the orange foliage just really does a really nice splash in the garden. So most of what we're doing in threes. I don't know, odd numbers. Also, we have some Tiarella. This is Fun and Games I Spy. Actually, it's a Heucherella, my apologies. Beautiful chartreuse with that burgundy center. This too will get 8 to 10 inches tall for the foliage height, and then it gets these beautiful pink bottle brush flowers that will get taller, probably about 18 to 20 inches tall. Heucherella I Spy is hardy in zones 4 to 9 and likes to be grown in part shade to shade areas. I think this is another one, Mahogany Monster. This is the Heuchera Mahogany Monster. That was hard to say. Beautiful white flowers. This one is a little bit bigger. It gets 12 to 16 inches tall and is hardy in zones 4 to 9. So this will make a nice mound. And again, we're going for the foliage color here, not so much the flower color, because I don't know. This particular one, the flower color isn't too exciting to me. So typically I'll just trim these flowers off. Some Heuchera or Corabelles have really pretty like pink or red flowers. Not so much with this one. All right. Creeping Phlox. We'll see how this does. This is the only reason we're planting this is because I want to have some like early spring color before everything else blooms. So we'll put a little Creeping Phlox in. This is Spring Bling Rose Quartz. It'll get about 4 to 8 inches tall and probably about 12 to 18 inches wide. And this is hardy in zones 3 to 8. We'd also talked about putting a lot of astilbe in, because astilbe not only have great foliage texture, they have really pretty flowers as well. So this astilbe, it's a nice one. Look at that. This is the Delft Lace. It's got great foliage, kind of that nice burgundy, almost near black color. Really pretty flower spikes, light pink in color. Delft Lace gets 24 to 36 inches tall with the flower spikes. So I mean, that'll be a nice almost back of the border astilbe, and it is hardy in zones 4 to 9. So we're going to mix a bunch of different astilbe colors in because I love the different colors of astilbes that we carry. I keep kind of going around the hosta here. This is definitely not deer resistant. So I think the only reason Rod brought it up is because we do have some hostas in the garden here, and surprisingly the deer have not touched them. So we'll probably have to be a little strategic as to where we place it, but we're going to try it because this really is a beautiful hosta. It's a new hosta variety from Proven Winners. It's part of that Shadowland series, Shadowland Love Story. 14 to 16 inches tall, so kind of a medium-sized hosta, and hardy in zones 3 to 9. So we'll see how that does. I also have a few caladium here. I'm really not too, I'm afraid these two the deer might eat, so we'll see. But we're kind of getting to the end of certain annuals, so we put them out in our garden, and I would rather do the trial of do the deer touch them or not than have you do it and find out that that was a bad choice. So, and again, my deer eat differently than your deer. That's, you know, they pick and choose what they want to eat. But typically there are certain plants that are more deer resistant than others. And up here, our goal is to try to push that limit a little bit, because I want you to feel like maybe you can push that limit a little bit in your area as well. We've got some Pig Squeak or Bagina. This one here is Miss Piggy. Thick, glossy, squeaky leaves. Beautiful, beautiful magenta pink flower. This plant likes to be grown in full sun to full shade, and it's going to get quite big. 16 to 18 inches tall, but it's going to get nice and big and moundy. So that will be pretty. It's going to spread, but not spread crazy. So if you have an area that you want to kind of put something in that can just kind of take over the area a little bit, this might be a plant you'd want to use. This is hardy in zones 4 to 9. All right, a few more here. I've got lots of them for you. So we're just beginning with these great deer resistant perennials. So hopefully you're making a list of the ones that maybe seem intriguing to you. This here is Spot On. It is a pulmonaria. Beautiful variegated foliage there, green with kind of that speckly, it almost looks like a bleach splattered leaf. So great foliage color even when it's not flowering. It does get some kind of purpley pink flowers on it in the spring, so this is great for early spring color. It gets 14 to 16 inches tall and is hardy in zones 3 to 9. It likes to be planted in part shade to full shade areas. So really, if you're looking for something that will start that garden color off, pulmonaria is a great start to your garden color. All right, we got the next group. We keep bringing them forward out of the truck. So the next group here are Oriental Poppies. So Oriental Poppies, this one here is Queen Alexandra. It is 30 to 30 inches tall. That's what the tag says. It's about 30 to 36 inches tall. Likes to be grown in full sun. So we are planting up an area that's more of a part shade, but certainly all these plants aren't going to fit in that one area. So I'm sure Rod's going to be popping them in here and there into some of the more sunny locations as well. This Oriental Poppy is hardy in zones 3 to 7. And like I said, likes to be grown in a full sun location. I love how poppies are so, I don't know, they blow in the breeze so pretty. They've got that really textured kind of prickly foliage. Definitely something the deer don't enjoy. So we have, I don't know, 2-3 different varieties. Royal Wedding is a beautiful white one, and Prince of Orange is a nice orange one. So that way we get kind of an assortment of poppy colors. Next we have Lupin, which I love Lupin. So we are doing the West Country Tequila Flame. This plant gets 24 to 36 inches tall. Likes to be grown in full sun to part shade locations, and is hardy in zones 5 to 8. Not a lot, obviously no flower color here yet, but it's a beautiful, almost melony reddish orange with white, with yellow. So that's going to be super pretty when it starts to bloom. Let's see, did we do? Oh, I also did the West Country Manhattan Lights, which 24 to 36 inches tall. This particular one has burgundy and yellow on it, so it's really striking. It's just the West Country series, I feel like, are just a little bit more showy or flashy than what maybe some of your more traditional lupin are, which are like pink and white, red and white, blue and white. These have more variations of colors, so really pretty. Also, we have some Euphorbia Bonfire, and the reason why I'm choosing Euphorbia Bonfire is because it's got beautiful yellow flowers on it, but throughout the summer, look at that foliage. It's got great foliage color as well. Euphorbia Bonfire gets about 18 or so inches tall and is hardy in zones 5 to 9. So you're growing it not only for the beautiful yellow flowers, but for the great foliage throughout the summer. Oh, here's a couple he threw in I didn't know about. So here we have the Penstemon Midnight Masquerade. This is a great tall upright type plant, 36 to 40 inches tall, and it gets beautiful light pink flowers on it, little bell flowers. So not only do the deer not enjoy this one, the hummingbirds and butterflies are going to like it. This is hardy in zones 3 to 8. More spring color, because you can't just have your garden in color like just in June and July. You want to have that color from April, at least here in Michigan, until September or October. So we brought up some of the old-fashioned bleeding heart. This one here is gold heart, which this doesn't really show it super good because these were just all trimmed, but they've got really nice golden foliage on it, chartreuse, so it really pops in the shade gardens. They get about 24 inches tall. They like to be grown in shade to part shade locations, and they're hardy in zones 3 to 9. So probably just about anybody watching right now, the bleeding hearts can grow well in your area. Also, we brought a few of the Bernera along. This is the Jack of Diamonds. Great foliage. It's green with that silver overlay. In the spring, it gets beautiful periwinkle flowers. Again, the texture of this is not appealing to deer. Jack of Diamonds gets 14 to 16 inches tall and is hardy in zones 3 to 8. So a nice shade plant with beautiful spring blooms. A few more here. Balloon flowers. I don't know about you, but a long time ago when I first kind of started getting into the flower thing, probably 25, 30 years ago, and I saw the balloon flowers, I thought they were kind of fun because you can take them, well, these are already popped, and you can pop the buds. I don't know if it's good for them, but listen. Well, I might have just, oh, there went one. They're just kind of a fun flower. So anyways, sometimes you just, play with your food. In this case, play with your plants. Anyways, Astra Pink balloon flower. This is a beautiful pink balloon flower. It gets 8 to 10 inches tall. Although I'm going to say this will probably get a little bit taller from my experience, probably more 12 to 15 in all honesty. This one is hardy in zones, what does it say here? 3 to 8, and likes to be grown in part shade to full sun areas. So beautiful pink flowers. So we have purple as well, so we can't just choose just pink. We've got the purple, so the purple bloom flowers will just kind of mix in with the pink, and they're a nice kind of early to midsummer bloomer. And also I grabbed some of the beard tongue cherry sparks. Plant really doesn't look like much, but this is a beautiful cherry tubular flower, so it's going to be great for the hummingbirds and the butterflies that come to the garden. It is hardy in zones 5 to 9 and likes to be grown in full sun areas. So we'll see. Again, this might get planted out in one of our more sunnier gardens, not in the shady space that Rod's really intending to plant today. As we started pulling some of these plants out, he's like, I've got way too many things. I've got barking to do. I've got all this planting to do. I'm not sure where I'm going to start. Well, I can tell you he's probably going to start with planting because he's not going to want to have to take these plants back to the garden center. So I'm sure planting is going to be probably his first priority, and then we'll see how far he gets with the barking. All right, so let's take a little break, grab some more flowers, and show you more deer-resistant perennials. I have to thank my assistant for getting up in his truck and getting more plants, because I know you want more, right? So here we go. We're going to hit more varieties of perennials that are deer-resistant. So next we have the Jacob's Ladder. This is a heaven scent variety. I've talked a lot about heaven scent because it's got the most amazing grape fragrance to it. I reference scratch and sniff stickers, and I know some of you that are in your 40s to 50s can kind of relate to what I'm talking about. That was kind of our era when we were younger. We had the scratch and sniff stickers. But this grape smelling blooms are just amazing. Heaven Scent gets about 18 to 24 inches tall. It's hardy in zones 3 to 7, and this particular variety can be planted in full sun to part shade locations. The foliage on it is really pretty. Right now it's looking pretty green because it was in the greenhouse. The greenhouse plastic, a lot of it blocks the UV rays. So plants that get more that burgundy tinge don't tend to get as burgundy in the greenhouses. But anyways, these get really beautiful olive foliage on them. So even when they're not blooming, because they're a spring bloomer, they have great texture and foliage to them. Some more Ligularia. This is the Ligularia Bottle Rocket. It's got big, huge green leaves, yellow spikes of flowers. This one gets about 34 inches tall. So this is going to be another back of the garden, back border of the garden type plant. Hardy in zones 4 to 9 and likes to be planted in a part sun or part shade location. We also had a few Heliopsis. This is Tuscan Gold, beautiful bright yellow flowers. Another plant that the deer usually don't touch. Rabbits will, but the deer usually stay away from this. Tuscan Sun, I don't have the tag with me right here right now. Tuscan Sun gets about 24 or so inches tall and wide, likes to be grown in full sun. It's a more drought tolerant plant. So if you have an area in your garden that tends to be a little bit dry, this plant likes it hot and dry once it's established. So I talked about astilbes earlier, and we have a few more astilbes. This one here is the astilbe Rise and Shine. And Rise and Shine gets 25 to 28 inches tall, is hardy in zones 4 to 9, and likes to be planted in a full sun to full shade area. So very versatile. Now, I'm talking Michigan here. So for those of you who are in the south, like Florida, Texas, maybe Southern California, I'm not sure if the shade plants that I'm talking that we can handle in full sun here in Michigan is going to be the same for you, because I would imagine a astilbe down in Florida probably in full sun is not going to do well. So kind of keep that in mind as well. We're a zone 5, 6 here. So what I'm doing with these plants are in a zone 5, 6. So I should point that out as well. More great foliage. This is the Dark Side of the Moon astilbe. This is a new Proven Winners plant. Beautiful purple blooms that really look nice up against this near black foliage. Dark Side of the Moon gets 20 to 22 inches tall and is hardy in zones 4 to 9, and it can be planted again in full sun to full shade locations. So this is going to be really cool with these two green the green and then the black foliage colors together. Nice texture, nice color. Not only will the flowers be beautiful in the garden, but these foliage, they're going to look super cool too. Not deer resistant, but like I said earlier, we are sneaking a few hosta in because we have had some success with hosta in the garden that the deer are not eating. So this is a beautiful bright yellow chartreuse color. It's a new hosta, part of the Shadowland series from Proven Winners. This one is called Echo the Sun. So we'll see how it does. It gets about 19 inches tall and is hardy in zones 3 to 9. This particular variety does like to be grown in shade to full shade to part shade locations. Usually when you have hostas that are like white or yellow, those are the ones that tend to not handle as much sun as some of those that are more blue or green. But really this is a beautiful bright splash of color in a nice shady garden. All right, man, this big boy. This is Agastache Meant to Be Queen Nectarine. Rod's like, what were you doing with this on your order? Like it's bigger than everything else. Well, we had sold out of the Queen Nectarine pretty early on. So when I had seen that we at least had gallons left, I made sure to reserve one for myself. This is a hyssop. The flowers are orangey, peachy color, super fragrant, blooms nearly all summer long. Queen Nectarine is a plant for full sun areas, hardy in zones 5 to 9, and it gets, what does it say? It gets about 30 to 36 inches tall, so a fairly tall plant. This is a great plant for hummingbirds, and it also tends to be pretty deer resistant as well due to the fragrance of the foliage. Some more bleeding heart. This one here is Valentine. So the other one we had talked about earlier had that chartreuse yellow-green foliage. This is definitely just more your typical green foliage. This one gets red, little dangling hearts on it. I think the hearts are so pretty in the spring. Actually, this one's very faded, so it looks pink now. But that's what the little flowers look like on a bleeding heart. And just imagine all those little guys dangling up and down the stem. It's just so dreamy in the spring. Bleeding Heart Valentine gets 28 to 30 inches tall. It's hardy in zones 3 to 9 and likes to be grown in part shade to full shade locations. More Silby. This is called Visions in Red, which the name is a little conflicting because every time I've seen it, it's always more of a purple type bloom. Vision in Red gets about 15 to 20 inches tall, is hardy in zones 4 to 9, and likes to be planted in full sun to full shade areas. Just a few more, thanks to you who have stuck this out. I'm hoping you're getting a really good list of deer-resistant perennials. Lots of different ones for sun and for shade that we've talked about. So no matter what type of garden you have, I'm hoping I'm hitting some of the check marks for your particular garden. And I would love to know too, the ones that I've been showing you, what are some of your favorite deer-resistant perennials that we've talked about in this video? This here is not a perennial, but it is a shrub. This is a Rosa Sharon. It's Paraplu Violet. So this plant, I keep walking past it in the garden center every day as I go to my office. And they've recently been trimmed, but the flowers on this plant are amazing. Like, for those of you who've watched for a while, you know that I'm really somebody that enjoys the color purple quite a bit. But this has got the most vibrant, deepest, darkest purple color bloom ever. Paraplu Violet is a deer-resistant shrub. There's a lot of these Rosa Sharons up here in northern Michigan because it's just one of those shrubs that people don't have to worry about the deer with, and they get such a massive amount of flowers. So Rosa Sharon typically like to be planted in a full sun area, although I have them planted in part shade and they bloom beautifully throughout the summer. It's also fun to watch as the hummingbirds kind of come and go towards them. This is hardy in zones 5 to 9, and this particular variety can get 6 to 10 foot tall and about 5 foot wide. So a nice tall columnar plant. So I'm really excited to add a few more, well actually this one, but another Rosa Sharon out here in this northern Michigan garden. All right, a few more, and we're going to be talking foliage for these guys. This is more Corbels or Heuchera. We have the dressed up ball gown, beautiful chartreuse green. So this is going to look nice in a shady area with a chartreuse. I talk about it a lot, how it pops in those dark shade gardens. This one gets about 10 to 12 inches tall, and then the flower spikes are another 10 or so inches. This one is hardy in zones 4 to 9 and likes to be planted in part shade to full shade locations. We have the dressed up evening gowns, so part of that dressed up series again. What makes the dressed up series stand out is the ruffled edges here on the foliage. So the ruffly edges is what makes a plant, the Corbels, part of the dressed up series. This one here has near black foliage, a little bit of purple undertones in it. It gets 12 to 14 inches tall and wide, makes a nice mounding habit. Hardy in zones 4 to 9, and this one can be grown in full sun to full shade locations. And the last one on the list, actually I think I've already talked about this one. This one I think was midway through, but we'll just talk about it again in case if I didn't. But I'm pretty sure I did. Oh well, Peachberry Ice, Primo Peachberry Ice. The Primo series is more of a landscape or larger Corabelle in the Corabelle family. Peachberry ice, 8 to 10 inches tall, but then it gets nice tall flower spikes. Really big leaves on it, really nice large foliage. This peachy color really pops again in those shade to part shade areas. Hardy in zones 4 to 9. Likes to be grown in full sun to full shade areas. So there you have it, a whole garden full of great options that are deer resistant. In addition to deer resistant, many of these are pollinator attracting plants. They'll attract the hummingbirds and the butterflies and your native bees. Great color. Also too, what we have here is we're giving you color from spring until late summer with all of the different plants. That's definitely my goal when we're putting a garden together, is that we have color interest throughout the season. Nothing worse than a garden that's flower heavy on the beginning and nothing going on the rest of the year. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. I know this was a ton of plants to go over with you, but if you have questions on them, don't hesitate to ask. If you're new to our station, be sure to subscribe to YouTube and you'll get more videos like this, along with we'll feature new plants for 2024, garden tips and such. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.